I'm Sue Garman, and I'm back with you again on the Quilt Show to talk about making half-square triangles and pinwheels. Last month we talked about setting triangles for setting blocks on point, and we talked about 4 patches, and I hope you've had a lot of fun doing that. This month I want to show you how to make traditional half-square triangles. You will start with a square that is 7/8 inch bigger than the finished size that you want. So for example, if you wanted a 2-inch finished half-square triangle, you would take a 2 7/8 inch square. You will cut it in half diagonally. I like to take both pieces of my square and set them exactly on top of each other when I cut them, because then when I cut my diagonal, they are ready to sew right along that line. So then I'll take and sew exactly a 1/4 inch in from that edge of the triangle. So a 1/4 inch in, and then I've got that. I trim off my triangle points on the end, flip it open, pressing toward the dark side, and I have a perfect half-square triangle. One of the things I want to warn you about, you have to measure, cut, stitch, and press accurately. You can see in this triangle I've got a lot of leftover stuff here. That's because I didn't pull that seam open totally. You see what a difference it makes in the size of the triangle when you don't pull it open? So make sure when you press that you're pressing very accurately. Now, there's another way that you can make half-square triangles. You can make them using paper foundations. There's a lot of products on the market for making them. There's triangles on a roll. They come in all different sizes, including half-square and 1/4 square. There's thangles. Here's a 2-inch thangles. There's also a product on the market called Triangulations. It's a software program that you can put on your computer, and you can make any size half-square triangle foundation with an 1/8 inch up, starting with a 1/2 inch up to 8.5 inches. You end up with page-size products like that for your paper foundation. I'm going to show you how to make half-square triangles using these half-square triangle papers now. Here's one that I've cut out. I cut out 2 pieces of fabric and put them right sides together beneath my paper foundation. You can put a pin to hold them in place. Then I stitch along all of those dashed stitch lines, okay? And then and that's using a very short stitch length again. You want to again use that 20 to 22 stitches per inch so that you don't have to tug and pull and distort your half-square triangles. Once you've got this done, I like to cut all of the edges off, and you end up with a unit like this. Oops, this is already coming off because it was cut very small. And then I'm going to cut first all of the diagonal line, the perpendicular lines, horizontal and vertical, right along those lines. Do not let your rotary cutter wobble, or your half-square triangle will be the wrong size. You'll cut them this way, then you'll cut them this way. Don't move it, let it stay on the table. You'll cut it this way, and then you'll cut all of the diagonal lines, and you'll end up with a lot of half-square triangles that look like this. The next thing you're going to do is take and cut off those triangle points so that when you fold it open, this is when I take my paper off, and watch how easily it should come off. When you fold it open, you've got a perfect half-square triangle. You'll have a stack of them that look like this. You're going to press them all open so they look like this. And then what you're going to do is use those half-square triangles to make pinwheels. Take 2 of them, set them together like this. You want to line up the edges and make sure that those seam lines kiss each other perfectly. They should butt up against each other perfectly. Pin it in place, and then stitch along that line. You'll end up with 2 together like this. Press it open, pressing toward the dark. Then take a pair of those and sew them together, and you'll end up with a perfect pinwheel. What I have not done is open up any of those seams. You see they're all pressed one way or another. In this case, I pressed open those seam lines, those seam allowances, flat, opened them up so that they're flat. Because when you go to quilt this, especially on a machine, whether it's a long arm machine or a domestic machine, if you haven't opened up those seam lines on something where you've got a bunch of seams coming together in the middle, you will end up with a great big volcano lump in the middle. So I like to open them up on a pinwheel or something where you've got a bunch of intersections of seams. That's it for this month. Next month we're going to talk about fabric selection. I know that's something that a lot of you have wondered about. It takes a lot of time when you're thinking about making a quilt to figure out what fabrics you're going to use. So we'll see you next month. Bye.